It all starts with a girl named Hina sitting under a bridge with two girls. She tells them she is searching for someone known as the legendary Ace. While they are talking, a strange-looking guy named Licht popped out of the water with a scary mask, enough to make a ghost scream. This scared the living light out of two girls, as Licht looked like a psychopathic maniac who wanted to steal much more than candies. Hina was startled and curious to know what Licht wanted, so Licht began to beg Hina for money and food in the weirdest way possible. He asks for money while trying to get under her plot. Licht keeps acting like a psychopathic pervert as he laments about how hungry he is. Nana punches him in the face and runs off but ends up getting chased by Licht. As Hina runs and screams for help, she is rescued by Ambassador Melon, a lady named Nana who happens to be the one who sent Licht on an errand and also runs a food tavern. Licht keeps begging for food from Nana and Hina, but Nana refuses as she sees him as a lazy pervert who doesn't want to work. Hina got into a conversation with Nana about how her mother disappeared into the ground, but Nana told her that she was dragged into the abyss. Nana went further to explain that everyone had different numbers written on them when they were born. These numbers count for something, and the moment those numbers count down to 0, the person is dragged down to the abyss. She told Hina they had to always keep the number count going up. Nana asked to know what Hina's number meant, and she said it stood for the amount of distance she had walked. Nana was surprised, as she had the number 441, which in the number count meant she had walked farther than my spirometer read. Hina tells Nana that the reason she has walked that much was that she was in search of the legendary Ace, as those were her mother's last instructions as she was sucked into the abyss. However, Nana tells her it's a fairy tale. Hina was disappointed and was about to leave when a group of men stopped her with a man who looked like a walking red flag, but had the description Hina had of this spectacular legendary Ace. She believed this man was the legendary Ace she had been looking for all this while, and she broke into tears as she couldn't hold herself. The man told her he was a sergeant major in the military and asked Hina to accompany them, but this made Nana uneasy. She didn't want to defy the so-called military. Meanwhile, Nana gets worried and wonders if Hina is okay, as Licht tells her of rumors of a group of wannabes posing as legendary aces and doing terrible things to ladies. Meanwhile, the sergeant major had Hina cornered in a room but clueless. Nina didn't know what was going on yet. She brings out a crystal ball called a ballot with 1000 written on it. When the sergeant major saw this, he wanted to take it from Hina by force, so he drew his sword and attacked her. Airhead Hina didn't know what was going on, but she was able to stop his attacks because there was a rule that said, you can't disobey someone with a higher count than yours, which meant that Hina had more counts than the sergeant. He then challenged her to a military duel called a star stake, where her number was on the line if she lost. As he gives her a beating, she cries out for mercy, which according to the rules gives him access to her count. Using this method, he drained all her count down to 1. The sergeant unveils the truth that he wasn't a legendary ace whose only strategy was simping. He also told her she had been on a pointless journey, as all the legendary aces must have been dead by now. This makes Hina disappointed, so he demands the ballot from her as she sobs. Suddenly, Licht descends from the heavens like a bargain bin superhero proclaiming a duel of destiny. The sergeant laughs at Licht because he has a count of -999, which means that he had no count to stake after all. The sergeant charges at Licht with various attacks, but Licht doesn't fight back but lays on the ground like a potato with his weird-looking mask and a giant teddy bear. The sergeant and his comrades soon realize that Licht is a ballot user. Licht then gives a speech to Hina not to look for aces anymore because they are murderers. After his beautiful speech, Licht's mask falls off because of all the attacks he took, and like every masked anime character, he is absolutely gorgeous and was probably hiding his face that had god-level rise. The sergeant convinced his comrades that Licht was not the main focus, and so they charged at him but couldn't even touch him, as he dodged their attack quicker than a dad on payday. He was so fast that he couldn't be seen by a mortal eye. Licht barely attacked, but the sergeant couldn't stand his presence as Licht walked towards him, asking him to return the count he wrongly took from Hina. Even after seeing he was no match for Licht, the sergeant kept throwing pointless attacks at Licht, who dodged them like it was child play. Licht finishes the sergeant off and flies in the air with Hina in his arms. As they soar, Hina promises to pay Licht back with a dinner treat, but Licht also promises to get her numbers back as he flies down and deals the final blow on the sergeant. The defeated sergeant begs for mercy and is stripped of his count by the mysterious shadow hands in charge of counts and is given to Hina. Hina recalls her mother's last instructions to her, and she gets emotional as she finally finds one of the legendary aces who is unexpectedly a perverted psychopath. Licht snatches the ballot from Hina and is surprised at his luck, as the ballot would bring him some cool money. Hina is also surprised and disappointed as the ace isn't what she expected. Licht then told her he probably wasn't the ace her mother wanted her to find, and that there were other aces. He then threw a small, funny-looking teddy bear at her and ran away with his godlike speed. Nana sees Hina from a distance and rushes to her, but Hina is so sad that she bursts into tears. She then explains to Nana how Licht took the last thing her mother gave her, but Nana consoled her and told her to hold on to the teddy bear and she'll know what to do with it soon. Shortly after, it popped open only to reveal the ballot he thought he had stolen. She was so happy that she ran out hoping to catch up to Licht. When she finally caught up with him, he was already on a cart leaving the town. She chased after him begging him to stay and come back, but it was all to no avail. As she sobbed alone after he left, one of the sergeant's comrades came to thank her as he was a double agent sent to find the location of the aces, and through her help, his mission had been accomplished. The next day, the military police arrived to question Nana about Licht's whereabouts, but she claimed she hadn't seen him in a while. Meanwhile, two officers, Sergeant Line and Sergeant Pele, were ordered to capture Licht if they happened to encounter him. Officer Line enjoys helping people, as her count increases when she helps those who are really in need, so the sergeant tells her to save her count for people who are desperately in need of help. When they finally decided to pay attention to the orders, they saw Licht sitting and hiding his face behind another weird-looking mask. Sergeant Line apprehended him, but Licht argued that he wasn't the one on the poster as he sobbed and showed them his negative 1,000 count on his hands. He even had a backup story as he sobbed and explained that his count was a result of the amount of women who had rejected him. He sobbed like a wimp, which he was not, and asked Sergeant Line on a date. The sergeant encourages Line to help Licht with a date since he is in desperate need of it as it would increase her count. Line reluctantly goes forward with the date as Pele secretly acts as Licht's wingman. As the day progresses, Pele walks Line and Licht to a creepy bridge with the hopes of making them bond. As they both walked across the bridge, it broke underneath Sergeant Line because, and as expected, Licht didn't miss an opportunity to act like a pervert. As she was about to fall, Licht stretched out his hands to catch her. Afterwards, Sergeant Line grew uncomfortable and wanted to end the date, but Licht kept sobbing. This made Line continue the date, which in return made her count increase. Pele then encourages Line to take it to a higher level called the groping, and this makes Line uncomfortable. Licht heard this and pulled out his great groping skills, and surprisingly, Linnea's body count kept increasing while this situation was a great help to our perverted Licht.
Yeah, boy.
Sergeant Pele grew tired of the games and told Line that Licht was the guy on the poster. Line was shocked and launched a kick at him, but he dodged it with his lightning speed. She kept kicking him, but all he did was dodge and look at Line's plot. By the time she realized, she was embarrassed and couldn't throw her kicks anymore. Line couldn't help but wonder what kind of guy Licht was, as he didn't have a scratch after all her attacks. But Licht told her she gave him a scratch in his heart as he approached her with some sexy eyes jutsu, and she instantly short-circuited, giving head first into Delulu mode, where she fantasizes about her and Licht's marriage. By the time she snaps back to reality, Licht had already made himself scarce. Meanwhile, Hina is working tables with Nana at her tavern and can't help but worry about Licht. Nana spots a man on a table, and she is startled as he happens to be a lieutenant in the military. The lieutenant asked about Licht by showing her a poster, but she claimed she hadn't seen him. The lieutenant disagrees with her claim and holds her feet down with some magic. He asks her again, so she tells him Licht is heading east. The lieutenant tells his men to head west instead because he doesn't believe what Nana said, after which he sends Hina and Nana flying with a blast and also destroys the tavern. After the explosion, Hina asks what people did to deserve such treatment, and Nana makes them understand that it is the punishment for possessing a ballot. While Pele and Line are handing out flyers, Line complains about her miniskirt uniform and gets into her imaginary world, where she fantasizes about all the uniforms she could have had if she was able to catch Licht and get a promotion. Licht causally appears out of nowhere, offering to help Line hand out some flyers. She then realizes it's Licht and starts chasing him, but he disappears. Meanwhile, Hina is worried about Licht and wants to find a way to inform him about the lieutenant, but Nana tells her they need time to rebuild the bar first, as she needs the bar to redeem her counts. Licht hid on high grounds and watched as Sergeant Line and Pele searched for him as he enjoyed the hide-and-seek game he was playing with them. Line then steps on a child's doll and breaks its neck. This makes the child sad and begins to cry. Line apologized and tried to fix the doll after learning it was a gift from the child's mother. After watching for a while, Licht comes out of hiding with his fake Hagoneska-looking mask and helps Line fix the doll as he unveils his beautiful face to Line and the people around him. Sergeant Line is starstruck for a moment as she thinks he is a K-pop celebrity, but jerks back to reality and starts chasing him again. Licht enjoys the chase since he can tell people girls chase after him. Even fate itself seems to write them into his pursuit arc. Licht notices something strange and suddenly stops, but Line keeps charging in as some spikes suddenly come out of the ground, leaving Licht unconscious. Turns out the attack was caused by Lieutenant Jail, as he and his men had caught up with Licht. Lin rushed to see if Licht was okay, saying her orders were to capture him and not kill him. However, Jail told her he was pretending to be unconscious, which turned out to be true as Licht stood up and took off his disguise, so Lieutenant Jail ordered his men to attack Licht. They all threw their spears at Licht, but he kept evading all their attacks. Unfortunately, Sergeant Line was almost caught in the middle of the attack, but Licht rescued her with a mighty spoon he carried all this while. The back-to-back attacks unveiled his sword hidden in this mighty spoon, which he then used to make 2 slashes that blew away all of Jail's men. Lieutenant Jail walks in revealing that he will handle Licht. He then asks Sergeant Line to recite their current mission, so she announces that their mission is to arrest illegal ballot holders and goes ahead to explain that ballot holders are people with illegal counts as no one should own a ballot except in the military. She also explains that ballots have unique features and can be activated by ballot holders. Licht couldn't help but point out the difference in their number count and told him it was unwise to fight him. But Jail proved him wrong by conjuring a dark surge of power that happened to shock Licht. Jail threw the dark surge of power at him, but Licht quickly flew away, evading the attack. But Jail was persistent and kept attacking Licht with metal spikes spearing from the ground. While he kept evading his attacks, he didn't want to fight Jail but ended up showing off his incredible speed, which makes him invisible. Jail assumes he is going to attack, but Licht takes the opportunity and attempts to escape like a chicken who realizes it is on dinner menu. But Jail follows after him and attacks him in the air, sending him flying back to the ground. Licht is surprised as Jail's number count doesn't match his level of power. As he creates a metal cage around him and Licht, Jail then unveils the masked real number count, which was 12500. He claimed he kept it a secret to avoid being promoted in the military and sit behind a desk just because he likes fighting and violence. Licht then realizes Lieutenant Jail is a powerful, overpowered menace, and he might actually be roasted. Jail conjures a metal object and hurls it at Licht, who manages to block it with his sword. Line rushes to help him out, but her melons are too big to let her through the cage Jail created. As Licht blocks his first attack, Jail sends him another attack that hits him and sends him flying. Licht decides to take things up a notch as Jail mocks his ability to fight. He built up a surge with incredible power and catapulted into the air. When the people around saw this, they were amazed and advised Lieutenant Jail to retreat from the attack as it might be too powerful. Lieutenant Jail doesn't budge, but instead, he sends more attacks to Licht as he descends from the air. Licht dodges as usual but ends up getting hit as he approaches the ground. He then puts Licht in a metal cuff and takes down the cage he created and concludes the fight is over. Licht then decides to surrender, but Jail knew his will wasn't broken yet. Jail then suspects Licht was once in the military, but what he doesn't understand is why the military had to dispatch all their forces to detain a low number count man like him. He wondered and asked who Licht was, but Licht didn't give Jail the answer he wanted. Jail then pulls out a metal torture weapon to get answers from Licht, but as soon as he attacks him with it, Line jumps in front and takes the hit. Lieutenant Jail asks Line why she stepped in, and all she can say is the good things Licht helped her do when he was in disguise. Jail reminds Line of her job in the military and scolds her for always handing out papers instead of doing her actual job as he tears one of Sergeant Line's flyers. This got Licht mad and he broke out of the cuffs, revealing that he could have cut through all his attacks but was only holding back because Line didn't want the village to be destroyed. Jail immediately surges up with a larger amount of power in a metal fist as he charges toward Licht, only for Licht to block it with a big swipe of his word. The clash causes a big blast that creates a big hole in the ground. Licht demands an apology for bad-mouthing Line as he increases the power from his big swipe, causing a bigger crack in the ground, causing Line to fall off. Licht goes after Line and rescues her in a twinkle of an eye, although she is shocked as they hover in the air. Suddenly Lieutenant Jail comes flying in, so Licht throws her to him and uses that as his opportunity to escape as Jail gets Line to safety. Shortly after, we see masked, obsessed Licht wearing a creepy mask when he suddenly spots Hina standing on top of a hill. Startled Licht as she walked to him with joy in her that she had finally found him. Licht is so shocked that he pretends he is a lonely crow just passing by in an attempt to run away, but Hina holds him by his scarf and tells him she knows who he is. She finally takes off his mask and her face is filled with joy, causing him to wonder how Hina found him, but she says it was a hunch. Licht found what she said funny and began to laugh while Nana came waving at both of them as she was also happy to see Licht. Licht then reaches out to get some food from the tavern, but Nana gives him a cup punch in the face and calls him an unemployed lazy pervert who doesn't deserve nice things unless he pays for it. She then tells him to go fetch wood with Hina. As they fetch some wood, Hina confronts Licht for lying to her and leaving her behind without having a meal together like they planned. Licht tries to defend himself, but is shocked as Hina brings out some goodies she had made especially for him. Licht then apologizes, but Hina says she is just happy to see him. As they tried to share the meal, a big wooden mechanical bird flew over them, leaving a gust of wind. They wonder what it is as they see a girl named Pelmo trying to make it fly. Licht surmises that the bird is going to crash as she heads straight for a ditch. Pelmo eventually falls into the ditch, but before she hits the ground, Licht flies in and rescues her. As they get to safety, Pelmo doesn't act like someone who just escaped death, and even jumps on Licht because she thinks he can fly and starts touching him around, and for the first time perverted Licht feels uncomfortable around a lady. Pelmo then takes Licht and Hina to her workshop where she shows them the flying machine she's been building and tells them about her dream to one day fly across the mountain. She also wonders why she hasn't gotten it right and what it was she could be doing wrong. Turns out Licht isn't a total dumbass as he easily fixed the errors in her design. After parting ways with her, Licht begins to wonder if helping her was the right thing to do as it was a crime to fly, but Hina commends Licht for doing something nice for Pelmo. Licht thanks Hina for such a kind word and immediately they both have a moment which makes them all red. Suddenly Pelmo appears with the new fittings made to her flying machine thanks to Licht. As she is about to try the flying machine out, Licht spots the military from a distance. Licht then pulls out his sword like he is about to be a hero, but suddenly the bastard jerks destroy Pelmo's flying machine. The girls were surprised, but Pelmo was okay with it as she already knew the reason. The military confronts Pelmo about her research, but she denies it and says all she has been working on is a windmill. After the military left, Licht apologized, but Pelmo understood that if the flight test had been successful, she would have been executed. Hina and Licht then encourage her to build as many flying machines as she can until she gets it right, but Pelmo has already come to the end of her road as her count already got to 0, because her count went down for all the times her machine didn't fly. The shadow hands from the abyss came out and took her along with them. This made Hina sad as memories of her mother came to her. In tears, she ran to try and save Pelmo, but the shadow hands gave a smack that sent her flying. As it wanted to attack again, Licht got in the way and hit the hand with his sword. That moment shaved decades off his soul, causing him to experience some flashes of the past. Although it also affects his left eye, he still tries to stop Hina from going to save Pelmo. This made Hina devastated and sorrowful, causing her to cry a river. Suddenly, Licht gets weak and falls to his knees, while Hina freaks out when she notices the number 001 appears on Licht's left eye. The next morning, Hina wakes up and immediately assumes Licht has abandoned her like her dad did, so she rushes out only to find him waiting there. Later that day, Licht, Hina, and Nana head to the market. Hina noticed that Licht's mood was not cheery as she couldn't help but remember what happened the previous day. Licht then tries to prove he isn't a gloom as he suddenly activates his certified pervert form and aims for a sneak peek under Hina's plot. As he did that, Line suddenly interrupted him and complained that even a Bigfoot can be easier to locate than him. She goes further to thank Licht for saving her life as she immediately brings out a handcuff to put on Licht. Hina is surprised and asks who Line is, so Line and Hina both introduce themselves. Licht could not stand the tension from the two ladies and took to his heels. As he ran, Nana came out of nowhere and gave him a wrestling close line that could delete a man's memories. Nana analyzes the situation and decides to hold a cooking battle where the winner would get licked. Hina and Line both wonder how they got into this situation, but they both accept the challenge and take it as an opportunity to cook something nice to cheer Licht up even if he is tied up like a criminal ready to be executed. They both pull up an appealing dress, and then the competition begins. Their first challenge is to gather ingredients. They run off and shortly Line comes back and begins to prepare her dish. She then says she would be making a special stew. Pele, who was on volunteer work, decided to assist her in preparing her special stew. Hina comes in with a dead bear and a boar. She starts butchering her so-called ingredients like a vicious hunter who lives in the mountains and has to kill for survival. After the contest ends, Line serves her dish first and tries not to show how badly she wants Licht to eat her food, or her if he likes. Licht tastes the food and tells Line it tastes delicious. This made Line and the spectators relieved, as some of them had placed a bet on Line's food. Hina then brought her dish, but it looked like what a dark witch whipped up during a full moon. Licht looks at Hina's dish in fear as it looks like it might book him a one-way ticket to write his will with just one taste. He reluctantly tasted it, and to his surprise, it tasted yummy. It tasted so yummy he couldn't get enough of it. Line and everyone are shocked and Pele doesn't believe Licht, so he snatches a spoon to have a taste for himself. He tasted it and it was delicious. Licht then compliments Hina for her spectacular cooking, but Hina said she is just happy to see him smile again. Nana then asks Licht to choose which was his favorite dish, causing him to be caught in the middle of a life-threatening decision as he sweats like a constipated guy holding a fart. Immediately, Lieutenant Jail walks in wondering what is going on and why Line is dressed ridiculously instead of doing her job. Licht then breaks out of the prison ropes he was tied with, but before he can escape him, he sends his famous metal spike attack that chases everyone away and ruins the whole event. Licht pulls out his sword and charges at Jail as he sends more metal spikes his way. Licht dodges them, after which their swords clash, creating a big surge of power as Jail scolds Licht for holding back when they first fought. As the fight continued, Nana immediately stopped them and told them to clean up the mess they made. They stopped fighting and ended up sharing a drink that night. By the time Jail woke up the next morning, Licht, Nana, and Hina had escaped him. He realized that was Nana's plan all along, to get him drunk and then allow them to escape. The group decided to go after them only to run into a town that was destroyed. As they entered the town, they came across a woman lying on the ground. Line rushes to help her, but it turns out she is already dead. Jail then noticed strange markings on the nearby trees and began to wonder where they came from. Sergeant Pele rushes in and takes them to what was once a beautiful lake but is now covered with a big hole of dark clouds. They all wonder what the cloud could be, as Line asks if it could be the abyss, but it sounds absurd to Pele and Lieutenant Jail. Suddenly, a survivor halfway to madness shows up. Jail asks to know what happened in the town. Still terrified, he confesses that he saw a demon from the abyss and it came out of the hole covered with dark clouds. He then tells the story of how the demon came out of the hole with a fierce face and started spewing fire from its mouth. Jail suggests this could have been done by a ballot holder who had a fire-based power. Jail analyzed the situation and wondered if what the survivor said was true, as it was almost impossible for a demon to come out of the abyss. Meanwhile, Licht is hungry and is made to work by Nana as she doesn't give out free food. Jail, Line, and Pele suddenly arrive looking for help for the wounded survivor, but also find Licht and his friends there. Although Jail was still pissed at Nana for tricking him, that didn't matter as Jail suspected Licht knew something about the so-called demon from the abyss. As it seemed like a fight was about to start, Nana quickly stopped them as their energy was ruining her business. Nana then offers Jail a drink, but Jail initiates a drinking competition between him and Licht, who buys all the drinks Nana has. As they drink, Jail becomes drunk and asks who Licht is, why the military wants him, and why he concealed his full power when they fought. He then tells Licht he suspects he has a hidden ballot. Jail keeps asking Licht who he is, but Licht just makes Jail drink as he avoids answering. Licht's ignorance makes Jail mad, but he keeps making him drink with his smart mouth and offers him more drinks. Line couldn't help but get jealous and wondered why Licht cared so much about Hina, but she then saw how nice Hina was as she remembered the time she spent with Licht. Meanwhile, Licht and Jail take their last bottles and pass out. Shortly after, they heard an earthquake and a big hole appeared, causing them to wonder what was going on. The survivor rushes to the lieutenant and explains this was exactly how it happened the last time. The lieutenant then introduced himself to the military soldiers there and told them to evacuate everyone but stay behind and fight. Licht hears something familiar coming from the hole and tells Jail that everybody must evacuate with none remaining. Jail then holds Licht by the scarf, asking him if he knows something about their current circumstance. A dark cloud floats out of the dark hole and Licht wonders how it could be possible, and just then, a metal flying machine comes out of the dark hole which scares everyone. This machine looks familiar to Licht, but before he can think too much about it, it opens fire on them. Jail quickly conjures up an object that blocks the attack. The machine then circles around and attacks again, but this time with a missile, which causes a big explosion. This explosion was blocked by Jail's special ability to conjure metal objects, which was able to save everyone. Licht gets into captain mode and tells the military to evacuate everyone while instructing Jail to make a wall the moment the flying machine faces them again. This doesn't sit well with Jail, who holds Licht by the scarf, asking why Licht took over his command. Licht tells him he knows how to fight it and flashes 3 stars on his shoulder, which makes him a colonel and a legendary ace. Jail is shocked as he realizes such a ridiculously stupid guy can be a colonel. The flying machine attacks again and Licht jumps up to battle it in the air. While it keeps launching attacks at him, Licht manages to block them all. Licht sees an opportunity to give the machine a fatal blow, but the shadow hands, which are known to the military as all things, come out of the abyss and strike him down as they also try to reach the machine. The machine turns again and begins to attack, so Licht tries to get to the machine one more time only for the all thing to stop him again. He tries to fight them off, but when his blade touches them, an electric shockwave flows through him and the number appears in his left eye again. Hina sees this and remembers the last time Licht had this same experience. She then begs Jail to save Licht because he would not be able to fight in that condition, but Jail refuses. Jail then tells Hina it is against the law for the military to attack Althing because if he helps, the payment is death according to the law. Hina is shocked at the ridiculous story he just spilled, along with the fact that the military would just let Licht die. Licht keeps on fighting Althing despite being hurt while Hina sobs as no one would agree to help Licht because of the law that prevents them. Jail then pretends to have lost his glasses and helps Licht with the excuse of not being able to see a thing. It was an emotional moment as everyone followed Jail's lead and started helping Licht, pretending that a blindness outbreak had spread rapidly. Licht sees their efforts and immediately jumps up in hopes of destroying the machine. He gets on top and suddenly stops in shock. Jail wonders why he suddenly stops when a blast of shots comes from above, destroying the machine and sending it back to the abyss. They look to see where the blast came from and see a girl with a gun hovering above. She immediately appears at Licht's back, pointing a gun to his head. She and Licht seem to be familiar as she called Licht Captain. Jail wonders who she is, but before he can get his words out, she gives him a bullet in his chest. He starts bleeding immediately and falls to the ground, so Licht quickly rushes to help him out while Line asks who this mystery girl is. She then introduces herself as Mizuka, one of the legendary aces called the Ace of Pursuit. The situation became tense as everyone was scared of her. However, Mizuka put up a jovial face and started a bloodbath as she joyfully shot everyone in sight like just unlocked her villain arc. Licht goes to stop her, but she immediately hugs Licht from behind with her push-up bra. Licht tells her to stop shooting innocent people, but she tells Licht she will always obey him and will also obey the order Licht gave to her many years ago, which was to increase her body count as much as possible, and she thought killing people was faster than the alternative method. Licht continues to beg Mizuka to stop shooting, but she doesn't budge and continues as she lets go of Licht. Licht attempts to stop her, but she turns on him and starts shooting at him until she is able to knock him down. Hina then rushes to help Licht, but someone stops her, pointing a gun at her head. A group of people clad in black appeared out of nowhere with guns to Line and Nana's heads. Pele tries to help Line, but he is beaten down like a cannon fodder rather easily. Mizuka hovers down and asks Licht to change back to the killer he was if he wants to rescue his friends, but Licht refuses as he couldn't even bring himself to kill her. Licht is then held down in an attempt to make him kill someone. The certified psycho brings a little boy and tells Licht the boy's life depends on Licht killing someone else. Licht tries to convince her to stop, but she wants her commander who killed tens of thousands in the past back. Licht assures the little boy he would make it out alive, but then he begins to cry out for his mother. Mizuka gets fed up and pulls the trigger on the boy, but instead of the boy dying, she sees her men lying dead on the floor. Licht becomes angry and his aura suddenly changes as he walks to pick up his sword. Nana tells Licht not to give in, but he tells her to stay out of it as he puts on a mask and reminds Hina she wanted to know who he was. He then said he was the plunderer, and his goal was to take everything the nation had. Licht then steps up to face Mizuka, ready to give her the fight she desires. Before they begin, they wager their stars on the line, as it was a rule for battle when aces fight, called a star theft bout. The fight kicks off with Mizuka going all out with her shots, but Licht dodges them all until one hits him down. Hina and Nana couldn't help but analyze the fight, and Hina sees that Mizuka's count is more than Licht's, and hopes Licht makes it out alive. Pele has a different thought as he observes and says Licht is holding back his true power somehow, because even if his count isn't as high as his opponents, he somehow fights on the same level with them. Meanwhile, Licht is a little beat, but then uses the blood on his hands to put warrior marks on his mask. While Hina questions if this is the Licht she knew, a mighty surge of power explodes from him. As the power surged, his count began to increase exponentially, causing his whole demeanor to change. Mizuka was slow to realize shit was about to get real as she smiled and happily said she wanted Licht to be the one who killed her. She then tries to get back into the fight, but Licht was nowhere to be found. Fear grips her as Licht starts moving like a ghost and starts giving her the beating of her life. Pele and Line stood there astonished that Licht was able to hold his own against Mizuka, but Hina refused to believe that bloodlusted Licht was the same Licht she knew. Nana then tells them to get as far away from Licht as possible as the great power begins to overwhelm Licht. Nana then explains that if Licht lets the power out, another personality takes over, and it's a man who is driven by the will to kill. He continues to attack Mizuka, and it only takes one attack to knock her at 12 down as her count begins to drastically reduce. Turns out it was another personality possessing her, turning her into a control freak who thought she was running a one-woman regime. When she wakes up, she wonders where she is and freaks out with all the blood on her hands. Nana then tells a story of how Mizuka was always a kind person in the group of aces. She then said someone had drugged Mizuka to bring out her ace powers so she would attack Licht and cause him to change back to the killer he was. Meanwhile, Licht is still lost to his killer instinct, so Hina goes to hug him from behind. Nana tells Hina to be careful as she continues begging Licht to change back. Licht suddenly turns and tries to attack Hina, but Mizuka fires a shot at him to get his attention. Licht turns around and grabs her by her collar before tossing her to a wall. As he moves to finish her off, Jail suddenly comes and blocks the attack. He is still cocky even though a bullet in his chest, and even challenges Licht to a battle. Licht throws an attack at Jail, but he blocks it, causing a big blast. Mizuka is scared and comes in between Licht and Jail as she begs Jail not to fight Licht because he isn't himself. As they spoke, another attack comes in from Licht, but cocky Jail blocks it and starts giving a speech about convictions. All Licht could think of was to kill as he continued to attack the Jail. However, Jail suddenly blows him away with an attack and starts giving a righteous speech as his count changes from 900 to 12499. While Licht struggles to fight his inner demon, Jail reveals that he has 2 counts as he unveils a hidden count in his other glove, which was 45,000. Licht rushes in to attack Jail, but he already conjured a metal beast to battle Licht. Licht and the beast go head to head, but the beast ends up putting Licht down with a punch. Jail walks up to Licht and kicks off his mask, asking him if he is awake yet. Licht's friend quickly rushes to him, causing him to snap out of his killer personality and apologize to them. Meanwhile, in a certain church, there's a man who is reading the story of Tortoise and the Hare to some children. The children were shown to be happy after hearing the story. Soon, a soldier from the Althea Royal Guard arrives at the church to meet the man who was reading the storybook. That soldier reports that not only did the mission to capture Licht fail, but Mizuka, who was controlled by her other personality, regained her sanity as well. That man, whose name is Schmelman, claims that it's all fine and there's a lot of chances to capture Licht, so he shouldn't worry about it. This demon incident, Licht and his friends took refuge in a forest. While Licht recovered from his injuries, the hands of Althing continue to appear and harass the girls, a consequence of the Star Steel bout between him and Mizuka that had been left unresolved. As the girls struggled with the embarrassing situation, Licht watched them excitedly with so much attention. Hina then asked Pele where Jail went, so he explained that Jail was called back to the main headquarters of the Althea Royal Guard by the Supreme Commander, Alexandrov Grigorovich. In Althea, Jail arrived at the commander's office. After Jail saluted, Alexandrov tried to hug Jail, but he avoided him. Jail reported his encounter with the strange group with black uniform to him and asked him if they were part of the Royal Guard as well. Alexandrov angrily denied that and claimed that they weren't under his control. This made him confused and wondered why the group wasn't under his control, so Alexandrov explained that they were different factions that handled assassination and spying, known as the Special Service. Jail wanted to ask him another question, but before he could speak, Alexandrov stated that he knew Jail wanted to question him about Licht and his true identity, which made Jail realize that he may not be able to keep his secret long enough. Alexandrov explains that while he didn't know about the full details, the legendary Red Barons, also known as the Aces, were created as mass weapons for the abandonment war, with Licht as the commander of the troops. Jail finds this ridiculous and states there's no way a human can live for 300 years long, so Alexandrov explained they stopped aging at a certain point due to their status as mass weapons. Alexandrov then asks if he was hiding Licht, knowing that if he lied, his count would be reduced as lying was against his convictions, which was the bedrock of his counts. Jail replies, and Alexandrov notices Jail's count has reduced to 12498. When Alexandrov asked Jail if he acted against Althing, which shocked Jail, he told him that he must capture Licht or he would end up being killed by Special Service instead. Jail had no say in the matter and gave in to the order to hand over Licht to the army. Back in the forest, Jail returns to find Licht and arrest him. Upon his return, Licht notices that the Royal Guard was forcing Jail to capture him, so he made it look like he surrendered for his sake. The girls tried to stop him, but Jail pushed them away and bound them with his medal. While she is about to handcuff Licht, Nana appears in front of him and slaps him, saying that he shouldn't follow the orders given to him but his wishes instead. Thanks to Nana's talk, no jutsu, Jail has a change of heart and chooses to help Licht instead. Soon, Nana reveals herself as a legendary ace who happens to have time travel abilities, who then sends him time, Hina, Pele, and Line to the past to see what happened 300 years ago and begs them to change the past where she failed. After arriving in the past, Jail was confused and wondered where they were. Soon, they saw younger Mizuka and Licht going inside a huge building, which made them even more curious. Jail and the others entered the massive building and observed the surroundings, which made them realize that they had somehow ended up in the past, although the technology around them appeared to be far more advanced as well. Jail wonders if the black-haired dude they saw earlier was younger Licht Bach or not, as he looked nothing like his present self. Pele also wonders how the technology in the past was far more advanced than in the present time. Jail and the others then followed the other people and went into the enrollment ceremony and soon found out the huge building was a training school. While looking around, Hina is pushed by a tall, ugly dude and falls on the ground, which makes Line so angry that she tries to make the guy apologize. However, the tall guy told Line to shut up and slapped her. Jail and Pele then went ahead to protect the girls from the guy. As Jail tries to attack the tall guy, he realizes that he doesn't have his ballot, which means he can't use his metal abilities. Because of this, he was defenseless as he got punched by the tall guy instead. As the guy moved to punch him some more, Mizuka showed up to stop him. The tall guy's name is revealed to be Duan Tekitora. He asked Mizuka if she wanted to be bullied so badly since she told him to stop earlier. Mizuka began to freak out, but a man with a wooden sword named Sakai Tokikaze came in and told Tekitora to stop as he was making a fool of himself. Jail stands up and tells Tokikaze to stay back as he believes he can handle Tekitora by himself. Tokikaze disagrees and claims that he must stand here to protect the girls and weirdos who are cosplaying as soldiers, which angers Jail. Soon, Hina overhears someone commenting on the situation, and when she looks around, she finds Licht looking at her plots. She gets embarrassed and stomps on Licht's face and asks him why he always acted like an unloved grandpa. The enrollment ceremony soon began when a pot addict named Alan admonished the newbies by informing them that they were no longer ordinary citizens but soldiers, and they must follow the orders from their superiors. The pink-haired woman, Ferenda, told Alan to speak nicely and not scare the newbies, which he found annoying. As everyone saluted, Schmelman made his entrance to the ceremony and read the storybook about the tortoise and the hare, which made everyone confused. As Schmelman reads his storybook, 3 newbies mocked him, thinking his brain had gone on vacation. Schmelman tried to tell them to keep quiet, but they didn't listen. Alan casually pointed his gun at the girl and shot her head. After he kills the girl, he tells the other 2 guys to make sure they follow orders if they ever get isekai'd, and then he kills them as well. The other newbies freaked out and tried to escape, but the door was locked, so they were trapped inside the building. Alan shoots his gun at the roof and tells them to be silent. He then pointed his gun at Hina and said that she deserved to die too, as she was crying on the battlefield, which was pathetic. Jail and the others worried that Hina might get killed, so Alan tells Jail and the others not to move or he will kill Hina as well, while also saying that soldiers shouldn't let their emotions control their actions. As Alan was about to kill her, he was stopped by Tokikaze. After Tokikaze saved Hina, he was also held at his point. Soon, Licht claimed that the headmaster had been taken hostage, so Alan shouldn't kill Hina and Tokikaze. Schmelman asked Licht if he seriously thought he could kill him with a tree stick, which made Licht show his magic to him. After a brief awkward moment, Licht was surprised that nobody laughed at him and his magic. Schmelman then tells Licht to kill him or else Alan will kill both Hina and Tokikaze. Licht states he won't kill him because violence isn't good. After hearing his words, Hina and the others realize that he is indeed Licht from the present time. Schmelman reveals that he would have no choice but to kill everyone in the ceremony, and this makes everyone freak out except Licht, who has balls of steel. Before Schmelman can do anything, he's stopped by Ferenda, a female instructor, and reveals that it's all an act. The 3 newbies that Alan killed earlier are still alive. Alan also revealed that they only wanted to pass a message about the dangers of being emotional. During lunchtime, Jail thinks back about what happened at the ceremony and realizes that while Alan was indeed acting, the killing intent he felt from Schmelman was real and doesn't seem to be acting in the same way as Alan. In the headmaster's room, Schmelman tells Alan that there is a rare warrior here, which refers to Licht. Alan wondered if Schmelman was serious about that, since even Tokikaze was better than him, as Licht refused to kill his enemy and acted selfishly. On the other side, Licht was just wandering around looking for plot, which made the girls uneasy. When he runs away, Jail wonders if he is is Licht from the present time, as he has a different name called Sakai Rihito, and he is shorter than the present, not to mention that he has black hair instead of white. Soon, Pele and the others enter the computer room to research Althing, while Alan comes in and explains that Althing is a god, which confuses them. He said that one day, a god fell from the sky to Japan, which would later be known as the Althing. The Althing could create new rules for the world, which allowed the United Nations use the ballots to stop the nuclear war and the usage of nuclear weapons. However, Alan said that the world is still far from being safe, which confused Hina. After the explanation, Alan told them that the class was about to start, so they should return to their classroom and leave. After Alan leaves, Jael and the others begin to question the origin of Althing. Alan said, there's a possibility that the counts and how people always get sent into the abyss when their count reaches 0 were set by humanity with the use of the Althing. Jael and the others begin to suspect that this school may have a link with the origin of Althea, and so they must make sure their questions are answered. Hina is happy that everyone is in the same class except for Jael and Tokikaze, who sit beside each other and constantly argue. While discussing which instructors they would like to have, Line said she wants Ferenda as she looks nice and kind, while both Jael and Tokikaze want Alan. Pele asked Hina if she was fine because staying at the school meant she would be trained as a soldier, which she only just realized and was scared. Alan then comes in and introduces himself and reveals he was originally the one who would teach the class, but due to a request, the job was given to Schmelman instead. As Alan left the classroom, he recalled that while spying on Jael's group, they seemed to know nothing about the computer and modern tech. The strangest thing he found was the name Althea being mentioned, which raises questions about Jael and others' true identities and where they come from. Back in the classroom, Schmelman explains the rules of the school to the students. He explains that each student will receive 2 stars, and to remain students, they must own at least 1 star. And if they don't have any stars, they will be expelled from the school. If a student obtains 10 stars, they will graduate from the school and join the military immediately. When he added that the instructors would check the students' stars every day at 18 UD, Hina asked Schmelman how to obtain more stars, and he explained that the students who gained good scores at exams and activities would get a star. If they wanted a more effective way to get a star, they would have to fight against another student in a duel. On hearing the explanation, Jael and the others realized that the rules were extremely similar to the star theft bout, and believed that this is most likely how it originated. For unknown reasons, Schmelman did not give Rihito any stars and told him that he would have to steal them from the other students within 3 days. In the headmaster's room, Alan asked Schmelman why he didn't give stars to Rihito, and he explained that he wanted to test Rihito and see how he would handle the situation. On the second day, when the girls are having a bath, Rihito is shown peeping at them in the bathroom, which enrages the plotless girls. On the third day, Rihito still hasn't received any stars. The Class A students discovered that someone had destroyed the storage room and stolen their stars from it. At first, the students suspected that it was Rihito who stole their stars due to the fact he started with no stars. Soon, they overheard Mizuka's scream, so they went to find her. They find out that Takatora was bullying Mizuka for her stars. Upon seeing him, Takakaze noticed that Takatora had a lot of stars stolen from the other Class A students, revealing that he was the one who destroyed the storage. Tokikaze tried to tell Takatora to stop, however, he didn't even listen to him. After Takatora leaves, Line was furious at his behavior and claimed she wanted to challenge him in the star theft bout battle, but Pele stopped her from doing so, as he believes Takatora won't accept her challenge since he had already collected 10 stars thanks to stealing. Soon after, Jael gives one of his stars to Mizuka, and while Hina is about to give Tokikaze her star since his was also stolen, another guy begs for a star, so Tokikaze asks her to hand it to him instead. At 1800, Takatora was all ready. Anticipating his promotion, however, Rihito appeared and proceeded to beg Takatora to return Tokikaze's stars so he wouldn't be expelled. Takatora slapped Rihito to the wall and called him weak. Hina watched as gave Rihito the beating of a lifetime, as they wondered if there was a way to stop the bully. Despite his situation, Rihito still kept smiling, which made them think he might have damaged his head due to the beatdown. Afterward, Schmelman comes in and asks Takatora where his stars are. He wanted to show him the stars, but unknown to him, Rihito managed to steal them and give some back to Tokikaze and the other students. Since he was back to 2 stars, Takatora had no choice but to stay in the school. He gives Jael some stars and explains it was originally meant for Rihito, as he just wanted to test him. However, it was unnecessary now since Rihito had already stolen Takatora's stars, so he gave them to Jael instead and said that he deserved. As usual, Rihito sneaked sneaks around to spy on the ladies while they bathe, but runs off when spotted. His actions made the authorities announce that the entire class will be punished unless they bring the culprit out. Tokikaze decided to investigate and find out the culprit himself, but Rihito tells him to send him in as the culprit, which he definitely was, as he pretends to take the fall for the greater good of his class. Rihito then begs Tokikaze not to investigate so he would not be found out as the real culprit. Unfortunately, Rihito falls for a simple switch trap set by Alan and holds him up like a trophy. Shortly after, the students find themselves in a forest as they think it must be a survival exercise. Rihito didn't waste any time going back to his perverted ways as he took shots of the girls' melons. They get embarrassed but then wonder if they will keep being embarrassed even when it comes to battle and decide to give Rihito a clearer view of their melons. But Rihito's demeanor suddenly changes as he pulls off his jacket to cover her up. Rihito then asks them if they want to be army officers, as it would need them to make tough choices like killing someone. This question brings the girl back to reality as she speaks of not having a choice but to be in the army. Schmelman comes in and tells them he can make them an army that wouldn't have to kill, and all they had to do was work hard and be stronger than every opponent they faced. This elated their mood, and they decided to go for it, while Jail wondered if the guy was just gaslighting them. Jail snoops around and overhears Schmelman, Alan, Davy, and Ferenda having a conversation about the ACE experiment. Alan then hears sounds and suspects something is wrong as he goes out to check. Little Nana comes to the rescue Jail. She takes him to her room and tells him if he is caught, he'll be killed. Nana then tells him she got a letter from her future self telling her she would send someone to her in the future. Jail is surprised and wonders if she is Nana from the future. She then tells him that she was the first ace they ever made and gives him some valuable information about people who had extraordinary powers without using a ballot, and Schmelman was one of them. She also tells him it was Schmelman's blood they used to create aces, but all the children experimented on died except her, and Licht was the next to get the surgery. Jail couldn't help but wonder if future Nana wanted them to stop the surgery from happening, so he asked little Nana a series of questions to try and find out what future Nana wanted them to change, but little Nana kept telling him her future self didn't give her that information. When it was time for the Jail to go, little Nana gave Jail a device sent to her by her future self, which contained the reason she sent Jail back to the past. Jail then asks little Nana to go with him as a little child, shouldn't be on her own. But she refuses as it would change the future too much. He leaves and makes a promise to return to the future and play with Nana to her heart's content. Before he leaves the premises, Alan sees him and points a gun to his head, telling him he is a dead man for trespassing. With an effort to change the future, Jail launches an attack on Alan, but he blocks it with ease and knocks him down with his gun. As Jail struggles to make his next move as he tries to launch another attack, Alan seems to already know what he wants to do. This scenario seemed familiar to Jail as he realized Alan was Alexandrov, his adopted father. Alan then asks to know who he is and which army he is from before he kills him. Jail decides to take a gamble by introducing himself and revealing that he is from the Althea Royal Guards, who are led by their commander, Alexandrov. Immediately, Alan realizes this was Nana's doing. Afterward, Jail tells him Nana sent him and 3 others to change the outcome of the future, so Alan walks away and tells him to report to him the next day. Not long after, Alan takes Jail and the others to a place where he shows them the reality of the world they live in and how much it needs saving. Afterward, Alan asked what they would do if they were in his shoes in such a circumstance and told them not to meddle in their affairs. In the computer room, they all find it hard to accept that Licht's fate has been sealed and there is nothing they can do to stop him from becoming an ace and killing people. They then realize that Licht is a hero of the war, and without him the Althea they know would not exist. This made Jail refuse to continue the quest if it meant wiping out the Althea they knew just to save Licht, and wanted to find another way to help Licht instead. During training, everyone is exhausted after jogging except Jail, who wants to spar with Alan because he knows Alan is his father and wants to make sure he can beat him if he needs to face him later on. They both spar as Schmelman walks in and takes them to another training regiment where he hands them weapons that are unique to their personality. Schmelman then gets into a conversation with Ferenda about how fast the war was coming. Ferenda suggests they take the experiment to a new level by testing on humans, but Schmelman angrily disagrees as he wants to protect his little disciples. That night, after winning an interclass competition, they all celebrated their win, and Rihito's class, a team, thanked him for leading them to victory. They then acknowledged him as their commander, but Rihito felt weird about it. They then saw the possibility of being an army that would not have to stain their hands with blood thanks to Rihito, and this made him them vow to bring this dream of theirs to reality. Meanwhile, Forenda urges Schnellman to allow them to move further with the experiments by using human subjects, but Schnellman gets angry as he wouldn't let his children go through an experiment that would cost them their lives. Forenda makes him understand that there are people whose DNA matches the experiment and they would have a lesser risk with them. Soon after, Rihito agrees to undergo the experiment and hugs Schnellman as he tells him not to worry and that he wants to play his part in bringing their dream to pass and help bring peace to the world. Class A became furious when they learned that Rito was being subjected to a dangerous experiment that might claim his life. However, Forenda explained to them that it's for the greater good and to help win the upcoming war. Rihito walks in and tells everyone if there is a chance to save everyone, he would be a crazy person not to take it. That night, Jail tells Hina, Pele, and Line that there is nothing they can do to prevent the surgery, but Hina disagrees as she can't stand to see Licht become a monster in the future. Line takes sides with Hina, but Jails makes them understand that without Licht becoming an ace, there will be no Althea to go back to. He claims that he isn't willing to sacrifice his entire world just so Licht can avoid becoming an ace, to the point that he will fight the others if necessary. On the day of the experiment, while Rihito went in, Line wanted to stop him from becoming a killer and tried to inform Licht about the future. She tries to stop him, but Rihito tells her it's okay. Wandering through the school, Jail stumbles on Doen Tekatora stealing Mizuka's remaining star. However, she does not ask Jail to help her get her star back. Instead, she asked for one of Jail's stars. While Mizuka may want things to change, she knew wishing wasn't enough to end her bullying and become strong. Meanwhile, Line is thrown into a spiral of self-loathing as Pele tries to comfort her in his own way, explaining that it is in her nature to want to help people even if that help would ultimately do more harm than good. Despite his contrasting worldview, it is something that he finds admirable. He encourages her not to change because there are people out there who understand her value. Just as the build-up to a romantic moment was blooming, they were interrupted by Hina. While Line wallowed in her shame and regret, Hina was busy thinking of a solution to the problem they were facing. Hina realizes that what broke Licht was not him becoming an ace, but him becoming a killer. Hina then tells them that if they can stop him from killing and get him to rely on his friends to share the burden, then he can win the war without losing his soul. Jail comes in and agrees with the idea as he suggests saving Nana too. Just then, news comes in from Alan that the operation went well. This makes them all happy as Hina broadcasts it to the rest of the class. As Alan was about to leave, he spotted some choppers flying in and wondered what was going on. Before he realizes it, the choppers open fire on the Stink school. Everyone freaks out as some army officers come out with guns in search of a body. As the officers in green progress, their orders are to shoot anything on sight. One team was about to shoot a group of girls, but Jail and Tokikaze came to rescue them. While they hid, everyone wondered what was going on and why the war, which was scheduled to begin in March, had started so early. Forenda calls and explains that the other original ballot-holding countries have come together in secret to start the war early, launching a surprise attack upon the one country with 3 of the 7 ballots. Forenda seems to be happy that the war has begun, but she also reveals the power to the lab has been cut off and the backup generator needs to be on to keep Rihito alive. This made everyone in class work together to try and save Rihito as they battle the enemy without killing them. At the other end, Nana encounters an officer who is about to pull the trigger on her. Nana hopes that Licht will come to her rescue, but back at the lab, Licht's hair has turned white. Meanwhile, the students successfully turn on the backup power, making Rihito's condition stable once again. The procedure is soon completed, and Rihito wakes up to find himself handed a sword, which is a replica of a ballot to enhance his power. He then tells him for his sword to function properly, he had to imbue it with his count, and further explains what a count was and how he would do it. Rihito flies to the battlefield, causing a big blast. The enemy soldiers wondered what it was that caused the blast, only to discover it was Rihito. They opened fire at him, but the bullets couldn't touch him as he saw it all in slow motion. As he approaches the enemy soldiers, they easily realize he is the protagonist of the show, and they are nothing more than cannon fodder for his dramatic arc. When Rihito sees Hina and his injured friends, he gets angry and destroys the choppers hovering above them. His comrades are amazed at Rihito's new ability and give him the name Ace of Flashing Strikes because of how fast he is. Rihito battles the enemy soldier and claims victory without killing him. His comrades see him and rush to hug him. Suddenly, the enemy soldiers stood up and told Rihito his idea of not killing was stupid, as they unveiled they had been strapped with C4 bombs. Rihito suddenly swiped the detonator from the leader's hands and crushed it, but they had something up their sleeve as they told Rihito they already planted a nuclear bomb inside the school with the detonators hidden in their bodies, and if he wanted to save anyone, he could simply just kill them and stop acting like a kid with a cardboard sword. The man tries to provoke Rihito to make him kill, but Rihito pulls out his sword and begs them to leave, promising not to come after them. The man makes him understand that sparing a life is useless, as they will end up dying of hunger instead. He goes further to tell them the world is beyond saving. He then tells his squad to ready their bombs as Rihito and his team's death guarantees them food. The man begins a countdown and Rihito is stuck between two choices, to kill or to let his team die. As the countdown was over, Tokikaze rushed in and asked Rihito to let him finish them off, but Rihito had no choice but to stop him before taking a big swipe with his sword that ended all the enemy soldiers. Before their leader dies, he confesses that he lied about the nuclear bomb and he wants Rihito to survive the war as the future needs more people like him. Everyone is surprised that Rihito killed people, but Rihito still acts all normal and runs off. Some of his teammates are relieved that Rihito is back to his normal freaky self, but Hina doesn't feel that way and goes after him. She finds Rihito in despair as he laments about killing a man. Meanwhile, the time came for Jail and the others to return to the future. Jail bids Tokikaze farewell, as Hina still finds the right word that would stop Rihito from becoming a killer. After Jail and the others departed, Tokikaze and the rest of the team were left wondering what happened and how their friends ended up in the past. Rihito then appeared and told them that he and the others were waiting for them in the future, as they are now friends. Nana then explained how the Waste War started and how Licht battled alone and lost his ability to smile from all the burdens of his battles. She also talks about Tokikaze, Alan, Taketora, and Mizuka, who eventually became aces, but this didn't remove the burden from Licht, as he had vowed to kill so his friends wouldn't kill. She also tells the tale of how a new Althea was formed by Althing in the air, leaving some survivors and the old city underneath. Tokikaze was not in support of this decision of a new world that left some survivors to die, so he rebelled against Schmelman, Ferenda, and Alan, and took one of the ballots, which he used to create the new Althea. They sent Licht after him, but Licht, in his mad state, ended up killing Tokikaze. Seeing the blood of his comrade brought Licht back to reality as he was devastated by what he had done, making him go into a 20-year nap. When he finally wakes up to the sad news that all his friends are dead, which devastates him more as he realizes the army only used him as a pawn. After the war was over, a count was forced on all new citizens of the new Althea to keep the population in check, and the old city where the Waste War happened became the Abyss. After some years, Licht doesn't age an inch and refuses to remove his mask. Nana assumed that Licht would never remove his mask because she reminded him of the war and all the atrocities he committed. Nana then says why she wanted to change the past to stop Licht from regretting it. In the present, Hina, Jail, Line, and Pele are back, and Hina suddenly goes to look for Licht. Nana brought out drinks to celebrate their return, but everyone seemed downcast. Nana tries to force Jail to drink as she takes his glass away. Jail instead asked for his glasses, refusing to drink, but Nana reminded him of the promise he made in the past. She finally gets her fun time and makes everyone drink alcohol. Suddenly, Hina brings Line and opens her melons like a buffet for everyone to have a bite sample. It's like a melon trade fair, but instead of it to make Licht happy, he begins to tear up like a baby at the sight of melons. Meanwhile, Nana is a bit heartbroken as she feels she is one of the reasons Licht never forgets about the war. Jail realizes this and punches Licht back to reality and plays him a video showing how much Nana cares about him. Licht rushes in and hugs her, telling her he didn't keep his mask on because of her, but he didn't know what expression he should have if he had taken it off. While walking in the forest, Hina attacks Licht with various traps. Afterward, Hina sobs as she asks Licht why he avoided her and wonders if Licht hates her, but Licht tells her otherwise as he asks her mother's name. Licht revealed that he already knew Hina's mother's name, Tsukina Faro, and explained that Tsukina had lived 300 years ago, just like him. As he recounted how he knew about her past, he mentioned that he had realized Hina was Tsukina's daughter from the very beginning, after hearing her name and noticing it was written in Hernji, a writing system that shouldn't have existed in the current era, had been long abandoned in Althea. He also reveals that her father was Sakai Tokikaze, the one whom whom he murdered, which was another reason he felt despair for over 300 years. Later on, Hina, Line, Pile, and Nana all pass out from the wine drugged by Licht, after which he tells them he is leaving to defeat the special service. Just as Licht was about to leave, he heard someone telling him to stop, and discovered it was Jail who was resistant to the drug. Meanwhile, the special service begins assassinating army commanders from the Althea Royal Guard in an attempt to make Alexandrov Grigorovich hand over the 3 ballots he owns. As Secretary Aaron discusses the situation with him, Alexandrov notes that a lot of members of the Royal Guard have been dying from some strange disease lately, but every time they attempt to investigate, the special service always solves the cases immediately and claims they all died from an accident. Later on, Alexandrov summoned the 3 Grand Generals to a meeting where they discussed whether the Royal Guard should give their ballots to the special service. During the meeting, both General Robert Lightning and Yi supported the decision to give their ballots to them, as all things support to keep Althea floating is slowly disappearing. After a special service's ballots were stolen 5 years ago, with the Abyss Demon incident that happened only recently, it seemed like it was only a matter of time before Althea fell into the ground, so they must reapprove the support as soon as possible before it's too late. For General Vanbich, however, he opposed this idea, but he is made to understand that their decision would cause a war between the Special Service and Althea Royal Guard. Robert claimed they should have no problem fighting against them as long as he released his army to fight. Back in the forest, both Licht and Jail argue with each other. Jail recalls what Licht said back then when he said he wanted to steal everything from Althea, meaning that what Licht wanted to do was to steal all the ballots from the Special Service and Royal Guards to make Althea fall. As a soldier of the Royal Guards, Jail decides to protect Althea from falling even if it meant fighting him. However, Licht explained that he must carry out his mission as it was the only way to atone for the creation of Althea. Licht asked Jail to protect Hina and the others for him, but Jail refused and said Licht should have to do that job himself instead, but Licht stated that he couldn't. While heading towards the Special Services bases, he reveals that he wants to meet Hina again and stay together with her after everything has ended. The next morning, Schmelman informs his henchmen that Licht was coming to them. Nicholas stated that they were ready to stop Licht once Schmelman gave them his order, but he said such an order was unnecessary because he already sent one of the spies to do that job for him. In the forest, everyone recovered from the drug and found out that both Licht and Jail had left. After Hina explained Licht was most likely going to Althea alone, they immediately went to find them. As Licht was about to leave abandoned capital Hoffnung, he noticed someone was coming and got pinned down to the ground by gravity. The gravity user reveals he is Licht's natural enemy and his flashing strike is weak against his gravity. The gravity user turns out to be Take-Tora, the Heavy Baron. He uses his gravity to destroy the roof of a ruined house, which causes the rocks to crush Licht down. As the rocks fall, Take-Tora states that he doesn't hate Licht's action, but he won't allow him to destroy Althea, so he needs to die. Despite his situation, his only thought was to talk to Hina one last time because he felt she must hate him for leaving. Hina and the others arrived at the abandoned capital Hoffnung, hoping to find Licht, only to discover that he was already dead. As they mourned his death, a spy from the Special Service appeared, intent on capturing them. In Althea, Jail just arrived at the royal capital in an attempt to meet Alexandrov. After a conversation with Secretary Aaron, Jail kicks Alexandrov's door, which opens and ends up hitting his head while he asks him if he knows the difference between good and bad. Alexandrov reveals a photo of the helicopter from the Abyss Demon incident and talks about a new war, urging Jail to be prepared. Jail reveals he wants to wager his stars and asks Alexandrov why he betrayed Class A 300 years ago. A pissed Alexander, that spec-wearing clown, Jail accepted his challenge in the Star Theft bout battle. The fight begins, and as Alexandrov lands his kick, Jail dodges it and attacks his chin, which makes Alexandrov surprised that the reason he fought him back 300 years ago was to find his weakness for this fight. In the end, Jail is defeated, and his count is reduced to only 1. After the fight, Alexandrov explains his past to Jail and how his real family was killed a long time ago. After hearing his story, Jail stood up looking all beat up but still wanted to continue the fight, which was baffling to the old man. Alexandrov then fires Jail from the army and tells him to make himself scarce. Back in the abandoned capital, Hina and the others woke up, only to realize that they all had been handcuffed. At first, Take-Tora wonders why Hina and the others appeared in his memory, but he soon realizes that it is Nana's doing. Take-Tora then asks them for Mizuka's whereabouts and tries to use his gravity on them to force them to answer. Just then, a spy of the Special Service informs Take-Tora that someone was coming. Before the person arrived, he warned them to watch what they said if they wanted to keep their heads. Suddenly, Schmelman walks in, and Hina and the others are shocked. Upon seeing their faces, Schmelman noticed there was something wrong with his memory and soon realized it was Nana's doing. Hina confronts Schmelman, asking him why he betrayed Licht and Class A even though everyone believed his words so much back then. However, Schmelman revealed that everyone in Class A was more helpful as a wet paper even than Sakura, and so stupidly gullible that they actually believed that they could win the war without killing their enemies. He then suggests using them in the ACE project, so he ordered his subordinate to give them the drugs that would make their gene compatible with the experiment. Once he leaves, Taketaro stops the henchman from giving them the drug. He quickly releases Lion and the others and tells them to go away because he isn't in the mood to kill them. As they leave, Taketaro sees a ballot drop from Hina's bag. As he takes Hina's ballot from the ground, he thinks they might have a hidden agenda which makes him angry, so pins them down with his gravity with intent to kill them. As Line struggles to move, both Hina and Pele try their best to stop Taketaro, giving her a chance to escape. Thanks to their efforts, Line was able to escape by riding the horse outside the abandoned capital. After Line had escaped, Hina told Taketaro that Licht was still alive and that his corpse looked too clean to be killed by him. Although he doesn't believe what Hina said, he becomes frustrated and decides to keep all of them alive until the next morning to make Hina realize how stupid she is for claiming Licht didn't die. On the other side, Line arrives at the place where Licht was killed. She also noticed how clean his body was, so she checked to see if he was still alive. She tries her best to make him wake up, but she too was about to pass out from her injuries. Before she passes out, she notices the villagers from home or her previous station appear in front of her and begin to tending to her wounds. Line also uses the opportunity to confess her love to Licht. Seeing Licht's eyes are still closed, Sister Greengrocer tries to slap him and tells him to stop sleeping like a coward. The next morning, Taketaro is about to execute the entire group, but before he can attack, Licht arrives at the abandoned capital. Taketaro moves to attack him, but he tells him to hold on for a moment as this is part of their promise, so Taketaro decides to hold on for a while. Licht tells Pele that he needs to heal Line's injury in the medical room in the capital. After acting like she is the CEO of hard work, Pele brings Line to the medical room and calls her a dumbass, which she was. As Pele leaves, Licht goes to talk with Hina, and as he confesses his love to her, he reveals the reason why he denied her feelings earlier was mainly due to his guilt about killing her father. Hina calls him an idiot and kisses him. Afterwards, she makes Licht promise not to abandon her again and even wanted him to put a baby in her to tie her down, but he wasn't ready to be a baby daddy. After their bonding, the fight between him and Taketaro finally began. Before they could continue, Licht was suddenly attacked by Mizuka in her second personality. While everyone was shocked that Mizuka was being controlled by the special service once again, Taketaro didn't care as long as she wasn't his enemy. With Sahonara's help, Licht was easily overwhelmed by their coordinated attacks. Similar to their previous battle, Mizuka keeps trying to force Licht to eliminate her. Licht attempts to dodge her bullets, but his movements are restrained by Taketora's gravity. He explains that the reason why Mizuka was acting strange was because he broke her after abandoning her. Since she always idolized him, she developed a bad habit of always relying on him whenever something happened to her. He went ahead to blame Licht for everything that happened to Mizuka in those 300 years. Both Sahonara and Taketaro were prepared to deal their finishing blow on Licht, and with no other choice, Licht decided to activate his bloodlust genes to win the fight. However, he is interrupted by Jail, who calls him a pathetic loser with zero redeeming stats. After he calms down, they work together to fight against Sahonara and Taketaro. While they fight, Nana notices that Jail's count has been reduced to only 1 and asks him why, but he doesn't disclose. Despite his low count, Jail blocks all of Sahonara's bullets with small pieces of metal. While blocking her bullets, Jail intentionally angers her, so she continues shooting her bullets at him, but none of her bullets hit the mark. Jail slowly approaches her, asking if she still remembers the things he told her 300 years ago, which made her regain her sanity. Meanwhile, Taketaro wondered why Licht couldn't understand why it was necessary to kill their enemy to achieve victory. Licht says that the mindset of killing and stealing by force will only create more wars than bring peace to the world, so he will reform the non-killing army and end the war in a good way. He adds that he wanted to create the right path for humanity by destroying Althea. At this point, Taketaro got fed up with fairy tale happy ending crap and prepared to finish him once and for all. Taketaro created several green orbs surrounding Licht, and seeing that he didn't know what it was, Mizuka warns Licht to run away, as the green orbs are Taketora's ultimate attack. Licht tries to jump as high as he can, but Taketaro reveals that the green orbs are the black hole. Licht tries his best to leave, but his movement is slowed down and he gets absorbed. After Licht was absorbed, Taketaro tells Licht to rest in peace and destroy the black orb with his hand. Licht wakes up in an unfamiliar place and hears Taketora's voice describing it as the place where he will die. He soon realizes that the voice is coming from his mask. Before long, the other barons' masks also appear in this strange realm, including Licht's own mask, which continues to blame itself for how the abandonment war ended. He tried to cut off all the masks, but the masks automatically regenerated. All of Baron's masks criticize his actions and tell him to give up and die. He tries to explain himself but to no avail, and soon they convince him that his decision to kill everyone was wrong, so he gives up and decides to die alone. In the outside world, Hina and the others asked Taketora where Licht was, and he explained that he had been absorbed into the gravity pit where he would die. Before Licht finally gave up, he overheard the voices of Hina and the others from the outside world, which gave him hope and the realization that he wasn't alone, and gave him the strength to successfully destroy all the Baron masks and escape out. As Licht returns to the outside world, Taketora tries to kill him again. However, Licht blocks his attack and tries to advise him to join his group and help him, as he needs his power to achieve his goal. Licht managed to knock him down with his fist, and after he accepted defeat, he returned the ballot to Hina and left, saying that he would never surrender to Licht and help him. Sometimes later, Line finally awoke from the surgery. As she tries to remember what happened beforehand, Line recalls her confession to Licht, which made her embarrassed, and claims it was a dream. Line later realized it wasn't a dream, and she was rejected by Licht. Outside the capital, Pele sees Licht in a very compromising position. He then demands to know how Licht knew he could perform a life-saving surgery on Line. With a serious face, Licht explains that he already knew that he was more than just an ordinary soldier since the Abyss Demon incident. He then implies that he might be a spy from the Special Service. This makes him attempt to cut Licht's head off for blowing his cover, but he stops when Licht claims he is Line's friend, so he doesn't see him as an enemy. As Licht leaves, Sister Greengrocer calls Pele out to comfort Line, claiming this is the best chance for him to confess his feelings to her. While Pele refuses, Sister Greengrocer acts as a wingman and pushes Pele into the medical room so he can have a conversation with Line. As Line cries, Pele cooks a meal for her to eat, which she claims is delicious. Meanwhile, Hina confronts Licht somewhere in the forest as she strips and asks him to develop plot with her. Licht reveals it'll be wrong to add more flat people to the world. Hina reveals that her mother taught her that if she finds a man she loves, she has to grab him like a limited edition figure and not let him escape. As Licht was about to be violated, Jail and the others showed up. He asks Licht what he was going to do next, so Licht says that he has decided to collect all 7 ballots, but rather than destroying Althea, he'll find a way for humanity to survive without Althing so that humanity will have a better future. In the Special Services bases, Nicola informed Schmelman that the troop was prepared and they're ready to assassinate the king of Althea and take over the country. As Nicola leaves, Schmelman talks with a mysterious troop who seemed like members of Class A, the students who supposedly died 300 years ago.